pictures show people this is a nice boutique here. Hey, how are you? Got a little excitement out there. We got to make sure that everything's better be safe than sorry. Just get my glass. Okay. Yeah. Danny gonna? Oh, there's Danny now. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. And tonight, we're happy to have student representatives from the Springfield Empowerment Zone 1, and some will be via Zoom. Some are here in person, which is great. Had the opportunity to meet them, family members, and administration. I think that's excellent. So with that, Forest Park campus, Forest Park Middle School in person, and Jadalise Rubet, and if I pronounce your name wrong, please correct me. Sarah McMahon, principal, and I saw up there, and Freddie Torres is here, assistant principal. So Forest Park is up. Is Jadalise here? Not here. Okay, so then we'll come back. We'll come back to her. Springfield Realization Academy, they're via Zoom. Adele Jose Perez, grade 8, supported by Hayden Lyons, principal. Jill Michael Hall, if I pronounce that wrong, please correct me, assistant principal. So, Adele, if you're on. Oh, Adele is here. Oh. Adele, come on, look at you with the tie, looking sharp. Come on, Adele. And who's the individual's family with you? That's fantastic. You can sit down. Come on and sit down. We're glad to have you. Come on up, Adele. You look sharp with that tie. And you'll do fine. Who's here with you today? Oh, yes. Is family members here too? Oh, thank you. That's great support system. Adele, they'll do fine. Come on up there. Okay.
All right. Good evening, Superintendents Warwick.
Adele, you're going to have to be a little bit, that doesn't amplify. It's just so our viewing audience can hear. So if you could be just a little bit louder, and you'll do fine. We're glad to have you here in person, too.
All right. Good evening, Superintendents Warwick, Mayor Sarno, and members of the school committees. I will first represent in English and then Spanish. Hi, my name is Adil. I came here tonight to represent SRA. The best thing about SRA is that it's a bilingual school. It can help you with English and Spanish. When I first came to SRA in 6th grade, I didn't know as much English. Now I can give this speech in Spanish and English. I had a hard time when I first started at SRA because of the language. But it got to a point where I just started to understand people and talk to them. I'm really proud of myself because this wasn't easy for me. I got through it with the help of SRA and my parents, who told me to keep going forward and keep learning. I also learned how to act when people is around me, and models are school values: integrity, justice, perseverance, and service. I really recommend SRA because people like me who come from Hispanic country can learn English and have experiences and fun. When I grow up, I want to be a mechanical engineer. The school has always been giving me information about mechanics and engineering. That way, when I go to college, I'm informed about what I'm going to be doing when I get there. The high school I would like to go is Central because it's a really nice school for me to start what I want to be in life. My goal is to finish things that my dad never could. I want to do this because my dad has been a great father and always looking out for me and never doubting about me. I'm gonna be honest. I had people who told me I was gonna be an educated person because I was always playing games and doing other things. I want to demonstrate that when they said that they were wrong, that I wasn't gonna be a good one in the future. Tonight, I want to show that when they said that they were wrong, and if you put effort, you can make whatever you want in life. I, I want to complete, I want to get a house for my parents, a really good looking house. That way we can all be as a family and together and we can be all good. I'm gonna start with the Spanish ones. Buenas tardes, Superintendente Warwick, el Alcalde San y miembros del Comité Escolar. Mi nombre es Edil y estoy aquí esta noche para representar SRA. Lo mejor de SRA es que el colegio es bilingüe y puede ayudar con el inglés y español. Cuando llegué a SRA por primera vez en sexto grado, no sabía mucho inglés. Ahora puedo dar este discurso en inglés y español. Tuve dificultades cuando comencé SRA por el idioma, pero llegó a un punto en el cual comencé a entender a las personas y hablar con ellas. Estoy muy orgulloso de mí mismo porque esto no fue tan fácil para mí. Lo superé con la ayuda de SRA y mis padres, que siempre me dijeron que siguiera adelante y siguiera aprendiendo. También aprendí a actuar cuando hay gente alrededor mío y moderar nuestros valores escolares: integridad, justicia, perseverancia y servicio. Realmente recomiendo SRA porque las personas como yo, que venimos de un países hispanos, pueden aprender inglés, tener buenas experiencias y diversión. De mayor quiero ser ingeniero mecánico. La escuela siempre me ha dado información sobre la mecánica e ingeniería para, de esa manera, cuando vaya a la universidad, estar informado sobre lo que quiero hacer en la vida. Algo que me gustaría, la escuela que me gustaría ir la escuela secundaria que me gustaría ir es Central porque es una escuela linda para comenzar lo que quiero hacer en mi vida. Mi objetivo es terminar cosas que mi papá nunca pudo. Quiero hacer esto porque mi papá siempre ha sido el mejor padre y siempre ha buscado de mí y nunca ha dudado de mí. Voy a ser honesto. Había gente que me decía que iba a ser una persona sin educación porque siempre estaba jugando y haciendo cosas diferentes. Esta noche quiero demostrar que la gente que dijeron eso, estaban equivocados. Y quiero demostrar que si tú pones mucho empeño en lo que quieres hacer en la vida, puedes llegar muy lejos. Quiero completar y lograr comprarle una casa a mis padres realmente bonita. De esa manera, todos estaremos juntos como una familia. Todos sean bienvenidos a unirse a nuestra familia de Leones SRA. Gracias por su tiempo y escucharme. Thank you. Fabio.
Oh, nice job. Mr. Perez, nice job, nice job. You did it right from the heart. Agora, nice job, nice job. Okay. We now have Chestnut Campus is here, Impact Prep in person. Zamir, who I just met, Reed Cook, 8th grade, supported by Principal Declan O'Connor, Principal, and Shauna Gay Stain, whose son is the great quarterback of Central High School, too. Assistant Principal. I had to work that in there for you, Mom. Is that okay? So, Zamir, you're ready to go. Come on up, Zamir.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Amir Reed, and today I'm going to be talking about how Impact Middle School has changed the academic aspect of my life. How the teachers, along with students, have made Impact a very comfortable place, and for all groups of people. Impact is very inclusive and non-judgmental, and that's what I like about it. The teachers are very understanding and are very invested in the kids. Each and every one of the staff members here at Impact are in my opinion, trustworthy and reliable. These teachers have invested their time to be able to talk one-on-one with every student, no matter what is needed, and help them whenever asked for it. This has changed my academic aspect of life because here at school, I can be me and form bonds with teachers. This is not always possible in other schools. The simple fact that I know the teachers are there for me whenever I need them makes me thrive and makes me want to work harder. The work is hard enough to challenge me, but not to the point where it's overwhelming. I appreciate the fact that the teachers don't just turn a blind eye to other classwork and just want us to do theirs like I have experienced in other past schools. They understand the struggle of being a student athlete and not having enough time to do a whole lot of homework from every class due to practice or maybe other reasons. Going back to what I said, the work is hard, but not overwhelming, and the teachers are very open to working with students to get the work done. Thank you.
Hey, Samir, good job. Okay, good job. Okay, Springfield Legacy Academy, in person, I just met her too. Alejandra Ramirez Chavez, if I pronounce that wrong, please correct me, grade 8, supported by Celeste Femina, principal. Mike Ziner, I know, his acting assistant principal, is here. Come on down.
Okay. Good evening. My name is Alejandra Ramirez. I am an 8th grader at Springfield Legacy Academy. Firstly, I would like to thank Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, and members of the school committee for giving me this opportunity to share my experience at the Springfield Legacy Academy. Since the first day I walked through the doors as a 6th grader until the day I stand before you as an 8th grader, my time at Legacy Academy has changed me for the better. Well, my parents and teachers might disagree at times, but here I am, standing in front of you all, so I must have done something right in these past 3 years. Okay. Enough of my jokes. Let's talk business. Today, I'm excited to share some of the wonderful things that are happening at Springfield Legacy Academy. As some of you may or may not know, this is our 2nd year continuing to build a foundation on the way to becoming a dual language school. Right now, both of our 6th and 7th grades have fully implemented a dual language model. Next year, we will add the same model to our 8th grade. Para ser honesta, soy un poquito celoso de los sexto y séptimos, porque a mí me hubiera encantado hablar en los dos inglés y en español. Over the summer and continuing throughout this year, our school started 2 awesome community partnerships with New North Citizens Council and Mass Audubon. They both provided our students with amazing learning experiences and field trip opportunities over the summer and will continue to offer programming throughout the school year. Also at school, we have made adjustments to our sports model to focus on basketball and volleyball. All students will learn everything from how to play, coach, practice, and even the business side of each sport. Next week, we will have a few exciting things happening. On Monday, we will be kicking off our Spirit Week, where we will have fun themes like Twin Day and Take Day. On Friday, we will be capping off the week with our fall dance. Also happening next week, the whole 8th grade will get the chance to spend a day at Discovery High School and get to experience a taste of what high school is really like. With all the great things happening at Legacy Academy, I'd also like to take a moment to talk about my experience here and how it has helped me grow as both a student and a person. During my time at Legacy, I've grown as a student in a couple of ways, starting from 6th grade, as I have really struggled in math in Miss Rennie's class. Over the course of 3 years, Miss Rennie, Miss Julie, and Mr. Gonzalez have helped me become more confident in math, and nowadays it's one of my strongest subjects. I'm sure that without them helping me, I wouldn't have gotten to where I am today. In addition to how I've grown as a student, I've also grown as a person. As a little 6th grader, I was often shy and more reserved. I didn't like speaking up in class unless I absolutely had to. Since then, all the people around me, staff and students included, have all been very friendly and supportive and have made an effort to help me become more confident. Now, as a big 8th grader, I've become more outgoing and optimistic. I mean, look at me right now, speaking in front of all these important people. Now, while I appreciate every student and teacher who has helped me along the way, there are a few specific people who have impacted me and been by my side all this time. I'd like to specifically shout out Mr. Rosario for pushing me to be my best self and work harder in class. I'd also like to shout out Miss Santa Cruz for being so patient with me in my math class during 7th grade. To add, I want to thank Mr. Camlock and Rick Price for making humanities a fun class to be in. Finally, I want to thank my parents, my mom and dad, my friends, and all the rest of the Legacy Academy community for helping me make the most of my time in middle school. I know many people say when you get older, you look back at your time in middle school and talk about how horrible everything was. However, my Legacy Academy family will allow me to look back and say, well, that wasn't so bad. Thank you all for your time.
Great job, Alejandro. Who is that young lady with you, Alejandra? Your mom. Okay, look like sisters. What a great job. Great, great job. And we like your sarcasm, too. Just for the record, school committeeman, Attorney Peter Murphy, sends his regrets. He has a family event tonight and is unable to attend the Student Speak Out and our regularly scheduled school committee meeting. So, talented and gifted tag via Zoom. I believe that Trinity Hillman, grade 7, supported by Declan O'Connor, Principal Rosa Santiago, Parent and Community Engagement Coordinator. I don't know if Trinity's on.
She is.
Okay. The Zoom is yours. Thank you, Ms. Santiago.
Trinity, we can't hear you. Can you do it? There you are. Nope. Can't hear you. I love her.
That's okay. Hey, I like the Christmas tree in the background there, too.
I'm always giving. I'm always Santa Claus. I'm Santa Claus 24/7.
Well, we like. Oh, hey. All right. Thank you, Ms. Santiago. Forget
You're
Halloween.
welcome.
We're moving right to Christmas.
All day, every day. I don't take it down.
Okay.
Trinity, try the mute button. She's lagging.
That's okay.
She's not true.
For the newspaper.
Oh,
Hello.
dear. Hey, Trinity, how you doing?
Hi, I'm so sorry. My name is Trinity Hillman. First, I would like to say hello. I hope your day is going great. I want to say thank you for being here. This is not my first time. This is actually my second. So I'm very honored to be representing my school because I love my school. But what the name TAG stands for alone by itself has a bit of a cocky meaning, if I say so myself. Talented and gifted. We're not gonna get off on here. There's so much more than just the name that comes to us. There's family, there's community, there's love, there's like life, there's fun things. TAG is it's very different from any other school I've ever been to. Like I said last year, I didn't really know what I was saying at the time, but I know what I'm saying now and I'm sure of it. I would not make any other choice. I wouldn't go to any other school besides TAG. I've really had a truly amazing experience here, and I hope to continue having experiences. The main thing with TAG, our motto is every day you make yourself a better person, the best way that you can. And I stand by that. We all stand by that. They hold their students to a high standard because they know that we can do it. We wouldn't be there if we couldn't. So TAG is very we teach you about the real world, and then you do what you need to do to get there. And we're gonna give you the steps and help you out to achieve that. Me as a 7th grader, I'm looking into high school options now. And I have people supporting me, like my guidance counselors. Shout out to them, Mr. Salas, Mr. Vanaz, Mr. Downson, and our principals, Dr. O'Connor, or Mr. O'Connor, Ms. Feliciano, and Ms. Metzger. They're helping me out now, along with many other students on our course of high school. Me personally, I would like to go to Central too. We do partake in sports, volleyball, basketball, and soccer. Me currently right now, I'm on the soccer team and I'm going for volleyball in the spring. Yeah, tag is very much you do what you're supposed to do, then we reward you. Like we're having a dance tomorrow. And next week, I think, I could be corrected if I'm wrong. We're having a basketball team, the Harlem Globetrotters coming to the school. And that's gonna be a fun little event for the school. And then next week on Monday, we also are having a spirit week for things like pink out or refs versus players. Tag is very much our grades are high and we like to keep it that way. And if they're not, then they're gonna do everything in their power to help you. Not by lowering in standards, not by going back, by what we're doing now, and we're gonna get through it together. But we're not gonna baby you along the way. Yeah, and the family and school relationship is very good. I can say so myself. Everybody's very close with my mother, and the family relationship is really great. It's better than I've seen in all my years at school. Like they communicate with my mom super fast. Anything I need, they're right there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope y'all have a nice day.
Trinity,
Yeah.
you did a great job, Trinity. Trinity, what position in soccer? What position in soccer do you play?
Well, my coach has me going between striker and midfielder. So
Oh, so you run
yeah,
like the wind. I was a crazy goalie in high school and college, so okay, you run like great job, Trinity. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we want to go back to the Forest Park campus, Forest Park Middle School in person. Jannalise Rubette, if she's here or she's on Zoom. I know Freddie Torres, assistant principal. Oh, all right, okay, Jannalise. All right. You look like you just came from a soccer game, too. What position?
I play defense.
Oh, you protect the goalie. That's good. That's good. Great to have you. Thank you, Assistant Principal Torres. Jannalise, it's all you. Oh, you're going to do fine. You're going to do fine.
Good evening. I am Jada Lee Choubet, a 7th grader at Forest Park Middle School. I am on the student council and I play defense on our soccer team. I want to tell you a little bit about my school. My favorite class this year is English. Our teachers take the time to make sure we understand what we are learning and will help us if we are struggling to understand it. They make sure we get a break with the health and fitness we need in our gym class. The lunches are actually good this year. The nachos are probably everybody's favorite. Staff and students are working really hard to try to make sure everyone is being treated fairly and feels included. We are doing our best to make sure we are learning but having fun at the same time. The school environment is clean as we all work hard to keep it that way inside and out. The student council this year is meeting weekly. We are working on a can drive incentive, pumpkin painting incentive, and planning our upcoming Spirit Week. I am proud to represent Forest Park Middle School, and thank you for taking your time to listen to me.
Jannalise, great job. Who's in the back there for you?
My mom and my brothers.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. And I saw Mom nodding, too, and she said lunch is good, too. Great job. Thank you, Mom. That concludes the student representatives. Everybody, great job via Zoom, in person. Continued success. We wish you all continued success, not only in the classroom, outside the classroom. We'll go into maybe a few minutes recess, and then we'll go into our regularly scheduled meeting. You're more than welcome to stay. If not, have a good evening. I see you back there, Junior. Okay, thank you very much. We'll go in a little recess until 6:30. Thank you. Sorry. Can't get on the stick here, you know, myself. Okay. Good evening. We'll call the meeting to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst? Attorney Murphy? Absent.
Attorney Murphy, for the record, sends his regrets. He has a family event this evening. He'll be unable to attend the meeting.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Here.
Mr. Collins? Here. Ms. Gresham? Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Present.
Mayor Sarno?
President, if we can all please rise for a moment of silence, and would like to dedicate that to a student that we lost at Renaissance that was battling cancer, and then we'll go into the pledge of allegiance. God rest that student. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. And it's great, besides via Zoom to our viewing audience, that we have a personal audience here, Principal Hughes, and we had some of our students in the Speak Out, or their updates from their schools that came down too, so that was fantastic on that. So, we'll move to Section 2, approval of the minutes for October 5th, 2023 school committee meeting. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion on the floor? A motion by Ms. Hurst, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required, Madam Clerk.
Sorry,
Yeah.
just one thing.
Yeah. Vice Chair Naylor?
School committee member Gonzalez was present at the last meeting. He did come in via Zoom.
Okay, Madam.
He arrived late, so he should be noted in there.
It is, okay.
Okay.
So
Just
that's
wanted
been
to make sure.
clarified. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Again, there was a motion made by Ms. Hurst, seconded by Ms. Gresham. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy? Absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins? Yes. Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe-Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes, more than sufficient votes. This matter passes. Thank you. Section 3, we have no voting items tonight, but Section 4, informational discussion items. That award-winning Milton Bradley School is in the house with Principal Kristen Hughes and their whole team. They're ready to take the field now, and they're going to give us an update. So I'll turn it over to Superintendent Warwick.
Thank you, Mayor. As we talked about at the last meeting, we had 3 schools of recognition in Springfield out of the 66 statewide. One of them was Milton Bradley School, which, if you remember, at one time was a level 4 school. Well, not anymore. We have a 90% criterion reference target percentage. Schools over 90% got recognized statewide. So just great job to Kristen Hughes and her staff, and I see a good number of her staff are here with her tonight. So they were going to present some of their secrets to success to us. So congratulations, Kristen and your team, for a wonderful job. Thank you. We appreciate it.
And she did it at White Street School, my alma mater, too.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Sarno, Superintendent Warwick, school committee members, and members of the audience. I want to thank you for inviting us here to recognize the hard work and commitment from our staff and the goals that we made over the 2022-2023 school year. I'm not sure if she has the PowerPoint, if you have a copy of it, or you do, okay. So as Superintendent Warwick said, it was formerly a level 4 school. I've been at Milton Bradley for the past 8 years. When I first took over, it was chronically underperforming, and in 2018, we exited level 4 status, and we're meeting or exceeding in all of our goals and that the state set for us. In 2022, as we all know, the pandemic hit. Our staff, our students were sent home, and we endured a 3-year-long pandemic, suffering illness, loss of loved ones, and interrupted schooling. We all know that the pandemic had a tremendous effect on all of our lives, from physical, mental health, economy, hunger, and of course, education. We did the best we could, but we know that our students missed out. Our students at Milton Bradley, like the rest of the country, declined in their achievement. Our educators also faced a tremendous amount of scrutiny and negativity and backlash from society during this time, which had a tremendous impact on their well-being and their mental health. With all of these issues, it would have been very easy to give up, leave education, as we've seen many educators do across the country. But I stand here proud to say that the educators at Milton Bradley did not give up. What they did was they worked harder. We knew that the root cause of the decline was the pandemic, but we did not make it an excuse. It lit a fire under us to continue to work hard and to make changes to help our students, and that's what we did. We implemented new interventions, we analyzed data, we coached new teachers, and we supported our families and our students the best that we could. Our increase in data this year is a direct result of all of the things that these people did every single day for our students. As you can see, we increased our targets in ELA, math, science, our attendance increased, and our chronic absences declined. So I was asked to come and talk about how we did this. A lot of hard work, but specifically we put clear actions in place. We had a major emphasis on writing across all grade levels, all content areas. Even our physical education teacher who is here writes in the PE and the health classroom. We've been proud to be a POG school, a reimagining school. It's the work with the Portrait of a Graduate. We're working on year 3, and we've launched project-based learning. We did that because we surveyed students, staff, families. What do students want to be able to succeed? They want real learning. They want to solve problems. They want to be part of their community. They want authentic learning experiences. So our teachers planned units based on our existing curriculum. They assessed student learning. We brought community members in. We brought kids out into the community. And kids are excited to be in school and they're engaged. Data analysis has always been, as Superintendent Warwick, the crux of what I've done. I'm constantly looking at data, looking at where we're doing well, and looking at what we need to do next. We know that we are not where we are based on our 2019 data before the pandemic began, but we are well on our way to reach that, and we know we still have a lot of work to do, even though we're being recognized for all of our efforts. One of the things that I pride myself in, and I'm so proud of my staff, is about collaboration. My teachers collaborate during planning time, during PLC, during extended day. I see them working together before school, after school, on their lunch period, using their own time to really work hard for our students. And I know that doesn't happen everywhere, and that has a direct impact on our students. The other emphasis we put was on culturally responsive and equitable instruction for our students. We want our students to see mirrors, not windows. We want them to be seeing themselves on our walls, in our curriculum, in our texts, in the activities that we do. We have a major emphasis on what's in our building and who our students are looking at. We're trying to diversify our staff so that our students can see themselves in these leadership roles. With all of these things that are happening, we're really making strides for our students, and we're going to continue doing that work. And all of these numbers that you see is data, but these numbers have real faces, and so we do have a little slideshow with the faces of our students and the work that they're doing to kind of close with. Again, I want to thank you for having us here. We're proud of the work that we have done, and we're going to continue doing it and moving forward.
Thank you, Principal Vito.
Thank you.
Well, don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. Where are you going?
Mr. Mayor, do you think could you introduce your team?
Yes.
Oh,
Thank
God,
you,
you're going to put me
Mr.
on the spot.
Collins.
Yes. So we have Mr. Tersch, our assistant principal. Okay. The woman that really runs the school, Denise Perez, the principal clerk. Allison Santier, one of our ILSs. Allie Ryan, former second grade teacher, now fourth grade. Christy Verdilli, who has been with me since I was a teacher at Milton Bradley, who is also an ILS. Erin Demarest, who's our computer science teacher, intervention teacher, everything teacher. Jamie Sullivan, who's now for this year for the first time working with our preschool students after being a kindergarten teacher for me for many, many years. Christina Tascon, who was one of my very few Principal Hughes at Milton Bradley people, and she is a staple in our building. Desiree Eichel, she's on maternity leave, but she wanted to come out. Bree Cicero, who is a math CPDT and interventionist. Meg Assad, who is a math ILS and was one of the very first ILSs in the city with me. The very first year the ILS role came into play, and she's been with me ever since. Kelsey Carnavale, she is our ESL teacher this year. And we have Emma Rose Quesnell, a second grade teacher. And Mike Barron, another pre-Kristen Hughes Milton Bradley person who does writing in PE. Thank you.
Well, I don't know if school committee members might have some comments they'd like to make, so stay right there.
Not going anywhere.
I would just like
Vice
to
Chair Naylor?
say something. First of all, I'm not surprised.
Thank you.
I had the blessing of having Kristen with my children when they were at White Street, and they did very well there, and definitely a testament to the structure you put in place that they continue to operate at a very high level. And so I only expected this to happen a few years ago when you decided to move into this role solely. So congratulations to you and your team for continuing to do such great work.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I missed your kiddos. You're great kids.
I didn't dare go before LaTonya because I knew, or Mrs. Naylor, excuse me, because I knew that she was going to sing your praises, because as long as she's been on the school committee, we've heard so much about how you've changed. You've had such an impact on her family. And I was just going to say, in the 14 years that I've been sitting here, you've come before us so many times, and you clearly are doing something very well and creating a culture that makes folks want to work with you for our kids, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. And I'm in year 14 also, so as principal.
Look at that, we've been here.
We've been here the whole time.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Sure, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Collins?
You have been here a number of times. It's sometimes easy to get here the first time when you take a place and you've made some, but to continue that, to have the team that you have that doesn't stop. It's never enough. They always keep pushing further and keep pushing further. And the one who benefits are the children that you all serve so well. And we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for what you do for the kids of Springfield. And you're an amazing team. And you got great utility players. You got them all down there. So keep it going.
Thank
Great
you,
work.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Anyone else? Well, I have to say, my old alma mater, White Street School, you made it into a Blue Ribbon School Award, National Award. And how many, well, forget hundreds, thousands of schools that we have here in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. And Milton Bradley, one of the 66, only Springfield, that was receiving that award. And that's a testament not only to your leadership, Principal Hughes, but to your team. And I, you hear all the time, urban settings. Is it difficult at times to teach in an urban setting? Yes. Is it impossible? No. And you are all proving that day in and day out. So we thank you so much, and keep up the great work, and good health to you and your family, and continued success. Thank you for what you're doing for our students, our kids, and their families, so we can move the city of Springfield to a positive, continued positive future. So If there's nothing else, Kristen, you can leave the podium.
I know, I told
She's
them
so
we can leave
humble
when
and
it's
generous. She
done.
can't
They're
wait to get
nervous.
away from the podium.
I just wanted to
Thank
say.
you.
Superintendent Warwick?
Just say one more thing. I
Yep.
think to make that 90% criterion reference
That's a big
target
deal.
after the pandemic.
That's a big deal.
With a learning piece that occurred, the loss that occurred is rather incredible. But to do it in a formal level 4 school, absolutely incredible. So just great work, Kristen, and your staff, and thank you from the bottom of my heart. You're wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks for all coming down, too. That was
Yeah,
great.
have a good evening.
So nice to see you.
Now, Kristen's taking you all out, right?
We're now going to,
Mr. Mayor,
Attorney-
could I just be recognized for a minute?
Sure, Attorney Fowler.
We've gotten some text messages that people at home watching cannot hear over the
Okay.
noise outside. So I just really would encourage all of you to raise your voices, and hopefully some of what was presented from Milton Bradley was heard by people at home.
okay, thank you.
So please
Attorney
raise your voices.
Thank you. We'll now move to B, strategic plan update, and I'll turn it over to Superintendent Warwick, and by the way, to the Superintendent Warwick and to the whole system. A great editorial in the Republican last week on the vast efforts of increasing our MCAS, what we've been able to do here in the city of Springfield. Superintendent Warwick?
Thank you, Mayor. We wanted to give you an update on the strategic plan. This is an initiative we've been working at for some time now, as you know. Initially, we were in the planning phase, and now we're actually in the implementation phase. And the team that's working on it has just done a fabulous job. And Michelle Balch, our interim chief instructional officer, is leading the effort and is going to just give you an update on the Portrait of a Graduate strategic plan right now and where we're at and across all our schools.
Thank you,
Michelle?
Thank you so much. I am so happy to have this opportunity to share with you our strategic plan update. So my name is Michelle Balch, and I am the Portrait of a Graduate lead, and I'm joined by my colleague, Gazelle Kavan, to provide you with a little bit of an update on where we are with our strategic plan and where we are headed. Just to center us around the vision and the mission of Springfield Public Schools, our vision is that students are envisioning and achieving their success. And our mission at the Springfield Public Schools is to fulfill the Springfield Promise, which means that we are reimagining schools, really partnering with families and community members to share in student success. We are attracting, developing, supporting, retaining, and promoting diverse and exceptional staff. We are prioritizing purposeful teaching, empowering our learners, providing them with culturally responsive instruction and collaborative learning environments, and most especially that joyful and meaningful learning. We hope to empower our students as they grow as whole people and to really graduate our students ready for success in college, career, and life. So here we have our Portrait of a Graduate, which is our community's vision and really represents the hopes and dreams of our Springfield Public Schools community and what they hope when students graduate from Springfield Public Schools, they'll embody these pillars of the Portrait of a Graduate. So this really came first. So we had our district's strategic, so the Portrait of a Graduate came first, and then emerged our district's strategic plan. And our strategic plan has 5 strategies, and these were really to help us get to those Portrait of a Graduate pillars. So these strategies really represent the way we plan on moving forward, and that's reimagining instruction, prioritizing well-being, expanding those partnerships, empowering educators, and transforming our systems. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that tonight, because when we talk about transforming our systems, we did engage in this improvement cycle. We were listening to our community members and really focusing on what we need to do in order to move this work forward within our district. And here you'll see this is a visual representation of our district strategic plan. And on the outside, you'll see our core values, which really encapsulate our district strategic plan, and that's asset orientation, people-centered, and equity-driven approaches. And then in the middle band, you'll see our principles of reimagined instruction, and those really define how we teach. And then our strategies in which are our ways in the work that we'll do to get there. And at the very center of everything that we do is our portrait of a graduate and our students. So our plan to really get there, we really want to focus on the principle of reimagined instruction. And this is really the focus of our work. And we have our 5 principles here that I talked about, but here's just them defined and articulated a little bit more clearly here. We learned a lot on our journey as we embarked on the strategic plan. So here in this slide, you'll see on the left our strategic plan priorities that we focused on last year. And then on the right, you'll see what we accomplished and what we learned as a district. And I talked about that transformation of systems. And this is really an opportunity, our strategic plan and embedding and engrossing ourselves in the work really allows us to prioritize our different initiatives and deliverables. We're going to continue this portrait of a graduate cohort work. And as Principal Hughes mentioned, they're part of our cohort work, and they really are shaping and designing the way each school is designing the way they are going to reimagine instruction, and in a way that is representative of their school and how their school plans to really implement this. And we're going to dive into the primary person model. And that's that concept that every student is really connected to an adult in the building who is an advocate for them, both in and out of the classroom. So as we went on this journey here, we realized that our schools were doing a tremendous amount of work, and we will share with you some of our portrait of a graduate spotlight slides that came out of our summer design work. And each slide has some artifacts and goes a little bit deeper into the work that each school is doing in their respective buildings as they onboard as cohort schools. We had 2 student summits last year, which were incredible opportunities where we leveraged student voice to really help shape our strategic plan and the direction in which we're headed. And then we have our Portrait of a Graduate Voices project, and Azelle is going to talk about that in a little bit. But we learned a lot last year around that. And we had grading and pacing teams, and they went deeper. Those were teams of district leaders, school leaders, teachers, and staff that came together to look at our grading and our pacing and really to figure out what we needed to do to get learning to go a little bit deeper, right? We have our high quality instructional materials that we approved. We have great resources for our students, but how do we then make that more meaningful and engaging for students? And then we have what we called our transformative learning experiences. And those are a lot like our project-based learning. And we are leveraging those as opportunities to make learning more real and relevant to our kids. And our elementary teachers really pioneered this work and did a showcase and talked to other communities about the work they were doing in their schools. And our secondary schools are using these transformative learning experiences to design and develop alternative courses like those financial literacy courses that are really going to help move this work forward as well. And one of our commitments is to create a matching system for our community partners. And our family and community engagement, our FACE department continues to hold events that really make those meaningful connections with our community partners and our schools. And another big area of focus is to increase staff diversity, and we're going to continue to make that a focus of our work. So where we're going, we realized that the strategic plan and diving into it was an opportunity for us to get really clear as a district on the work that we're doing in the upcoming year. So we took a look at our strategic plan, and we really decided that we needed to go deeper into some aspects of the work and to gain clarity on who owns what initiatives and deliverables within the strategic plan, really just pinpointing a person who is responsible for driving these initiatives. And what was most important to us is that we had a clear way to progress monitor the work that we're doing, right? We are doing a lot of great things, but we need a way to be able to like codify that work and to be able to speak to that work in terms of progress. And then we needed to also define our instructional vision. And again, we have those principles of reimagined instruction, but we need to continue to do work to unpack that. What do those principles really look like in classroom practice? And we're doing that through learning walks and observations to go deeper into that work. And we spent a lot of time aligning our district systems and our partnerships. So the academic team, in collaboration with the chief schools officers, spent some time really defining what our school improvement plan process looked like and how we are aligning that to our district strategic plan. It was really important work that happened over the summer so that schools can see a direct alignment from our district strategic plan into their school improvement plan into classroom practice. And we also took a moment and a deep dive into our district partners. We made sure that all of our partners who are committed to this work are all working in service of our district strategic plan and our principles of reimagined instruction. So here you can see our strategies on the left and our various initiatives that will be a focus for the 23-24 school year. And again, we are staying the course on a lot of these initiatives, but we continue to go deeper on certain components of these strategies. And this is just an example of like how a strategy comes to life. We have our principle of reimagined instruction, and this is an example of the work of the academic team. So the work of the academic team is to really take a look at two of those principles, purposeful teaching and culturally responsive instruction. And all of the work that the academic team is doing over the course of the year will be working in service of those two principles. And then those principles are set into action by the school improvement plan. So again, I just hope you can see that we have a clear alignment, a set of really focused and targeted strategic plan priorities and initiatives. So I've been talking a lot about the work that we're doing, and I mentioned a way for us to be able to progress monitor this work. So we partnered with Attuned, and it was a collaborative effort to really develop a system to be able to monitor this work. And here you'll see an example of the system that we built to progress monitor this work. So this is a computer-based program that we've input all of our district strategic priorities. So here you'll see this slide just represents the strategic priorities. And then as we go deeper into our progress monitoring, each strategy has various initiatives that live within them. And then these initiatives have deliverables. So there is a person who owns each of the strategies and the deliverables within those. So we are progress monitoring. You'll see a timeline here. This is just an example of some of the timelines for our district strategic planning process. You'll see they're at the design stage, some are at the pilot and launch. So this is just an example of how we are tracking and modifying and to be able to turnkey some really high leverage reports and progress monitoring. We've done a lot of work with the portrait of a graduate, and we talked a little bit about, and Kristen Hughes talked a little bit how she's a portrait school. So we are doing a majority of our work through the strategic plan and the portrait of a graduate work through the cohort model. So we have 24 schools that are now part of our cohort model. So we have cohort 1 here, cohort 2, and we just onboarded cohort 3. And these schools are doing the heavy lift of our principles of reimagined instruction and really unpacking what this looks like in practice. And we have schools doing incredible work. And like I had mentioned, we will share with you those spotlight slides so you can see what each individual school is working on to help transform these systems and really get clear on reimagining instruction within their specific context. Here is an overall umbrella of the work that we committed to for the 6 years. I talked about some of our strategies and initiatives that are a focus for this year. But overall, here are all the things that we are committed to, progress monitoring and continuing to support as a district. And these are what we believe will really help get our students to the portrait of embody that portrait of a graduate. So this is the big 3,000-foot view of all the work that we committed to for the next 6 years. Jose Escribano could not be here tonight, but he wanted to share some really important and highlight the work that his team is doing around the family and community engagement piece, because that is a significant part of our strategic plan and the portrait of a graduate work. So here are just some amazing updates that his team has led. He has a Dewey Learning Hub, and this hub is really designed to provide families with resources, materials, alternative lessons. It's a place where people can go if they have questions about the complexities of education. It includes activities and guidance supporting students' well-being in here. This is just some of the aspects of this program. So it's basically a resource-rich center for our families. They are relaunching the Springfield Parent Academy. They have 2 upcoming sessions, one at Sumner and one at Putnam. His team is working diligently on that Family Expo. We had about 1,000 participants last year, and they are going to continue to make this year even better and bigger. The home visit project was initiated, and this is really just that personalized engagement, that making a connection with families, reaching out, and to make those strong homeschool connections. The parent advisory going strong. They met over the course of last year, and they're going to continue to move that work forward. And the back to school celebration was a kickoff, and the kickoff, and it was run by families and parents. We're doing professional developments for our family liaison to really grow them into the role. We know that they play such a significant role in our school communities. So they're getting some really targeted professional development to help support them in their role. And expanding our college partnerships with Springfield Public School students. And that is just really a high level overview of our district strategic planning work and the work that we've done. And we're really proud of our accomplishments, our new progress monitoring tool and tracker. And we will continue to share with you our updates on our strategic plan. And as we continue to iterate and go deeper into the work, we'll be more than happy to provide you with our progress monitoring. And I am going to turn it over to Azel Kavan, who has 2 really exciting updates for you.
Thank you, Michelle, and good evening, everyone. So the Barr Foundation, which is our funder and nationally the leader in Portrait of a Graduate work, has been working very closely with the district since the beginning of our Portrait of a Graduate initiative. And we were very excited to be selected by Barr to host their annual spring convening here in Springfield. So Barr hosts 2 convenings a year, and they seek to highlight a district that is really leading the work, sort of a role model for other districts. And so while the convening itself is very prescribed by Barr, they know what we're doing and they know what they want us to showcase. We are so excited to get them in our schools and in our city to share with over about 100 or 150 educators and students from across the nation who are involved in Portrait of a Graduate work. So we're really looking forward to that in March. I think one of the driving factors in Barr's decision was the great work that we've done as a district around getting student voice involved as a leading force in our Portrait of a Graduate. And one of the ways that we did that was by hosting 2 student summits where we brought students together, juniors and seniors together from all different schools, all different high schools, and talk to them about their own hopes and dreams, what they see in school that is working, what they see in school that could be better. And we took that information and we had them come back together and we talked about how their voices are driving our work and what has been implemented as a direct result of our conversations with them. And I think that BAR had not seen that to the scale that we were able to create here in Springfield. And so in this convening in March, we will be doing a student summit along with school visits. So I think that our focus on student voice has been really impressive towards the folks at BAR. And hopefully these images ring a bell for you. We had a contest, student contest for art and writing for them to portray what the portrait of a graduate means for them. And we had a selection committee and we chose 12 winners of the art contest. There were winners of the written contest as well. But these were the winners of the art contest. I'm sure these images are familiar to you. We unveiled them at the convocation and we have them throughout the district. All schools have copies of these posters. The new development is that due to our community connections with Community Music School and Commonwealth Mural, we are now working to make these images into murals that will be not only in schools, 12 of the murals will be in schools, but also throughout the city. And so we are really excited because the Portrait of a Graduate started as a community initiative. It is the community's vision of what students should know and be able to do when they graduate. And so having these images out in the community just brings that full circle. So we're very excited about that. It's in the very early stages, so stay tuned as we move forward with that. And in our most recent episode of POG, the podcast, you will hear from students directly as they talk about what a primary person really means to them. So we talk about it. Michelle just gave a great presentation, but we hear in students' own words what an impact a person in their school who may or may not be their teacher has had on their life and on their growth. And so if you haven't given that a listen, I urge you to tune in to the POG, the podcast, to hear that. And I think that does it. I think that completes the presentation for tonight.
Thank you, Azelle. Michelle, any questions or comments?
I have a couple of
Vice
questions.
Chair Monroe Naylor, please.
Thank you so much. I thought the presentation was really great. I do want to stress again that the process for us creating a Portrait of a Graduate strategic plan was very intentional, that we engrafted a lot of folks from different communities, from different sectors of our community, as well as business leaders and businesses. So it was not something that we just came up with in a vacuum. It was something that was very intentional. And I've been blessed to be a part of the process since its inception. And I'm really happy to see that the things that we planned out for it to be is exactly what it's being, what it's becoming. So when we look at Bradley being one of the schools that started out in the first cohort and we see where they are now, it lets us know that the things that we've intended are working. So I really want to say kudos to you, Superintendent, and to the team, and to everyone who has been a part of this. But I'm equally, after I said that, wanted to ask a question around how are we phasing in the additional schools? Because the excitement and the progress of the schools that are involved is really making me feel anxious about getting the rest of them engaged as well in this process.
That's a great question. So we created a phase-in process over time where the schools stepped forward and when they were ready. We were trying to implement Portrait of a Graduate as we were trying to recover from the pandemic. So that created an extra challenge for us. So we tried to take into account schools that were ready and ready to embrace it, but we're going to have everyone phased in the next few years, and that's going to be exciting.
Thank you. And The next question,
And our ability to support the schools as they enter it, if we had everyone try to go in together at the beginning, at that time, it would have been very, very difficult. So
Right.
it allows us to be able to support them as they get going better.
right, I think this is great, I really do. So also, one of the things that came out of it was a lot of the work that Jose is doing with the Family and Community Engagement Office, which again, I'm really proud of the progress and the trajectory that they are on. One of the things that we talked about before the end of the school year was the Parent Advisory Council, which I see has been reinstated, and I'm really excited about that. Can you provide us at some point with just a context of what the role of the council is and how they're operating, what their priorities are, something just to give us an idea of that in the near future? It would be really helpful.
We absolutely can. Kim, would you like to give a quick update on that? Parent advisory, student advisory. What was the?
Well, I wanted to know about the parent, but since you said student, we would like to hear that too.
Yeah, we were talking about the Student Advisory Council today, yeah, so, yeah, because I knew we were going to talk about that. Yeah, thank you, I jumped the gun, I'm
No
sorry.
problem. I was headed in that
Apologize.
direction,
Yeah,
so I thank
I
you.
thought that's where, was the way you were going.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you as well.
No, that's great.
We were
I'd
just
love-
talking about that today, so I thought Kim
Yeah.
could give you an update.
No, that's perfect. So the schools have elected their student advisory councils, and their student advisory councils have elected their district advisory council member. So Jose and I are meeting with the students who have been elected to the district advisory council and the school's advisory council advisors. There's a lot of advisories in that, right? We're meeting with them next Tuesday on the 24th because the goal is twofold. One, to get them ready to come and be prepared to talk with you. And it's really going to be about their voice, not about what we want them to talk to you about, but really what are some of the issues, what are the things that they're really excited about, what are some of the concerns that they have, and how can we work collaboratively with the student representation from each school to really be able to address it. So I'll give you, for example, one of the things that we've talked about in schools, there have been, some things that they want, that they have some suggestions around food. And so how can we, get them engaged in working with Sodexo and going to the Culinary and Nutrition Center to look at the opportunities and to provide options for them to have their voice in that. So Jose and I are really going to be working with the students to really think about, besides all of the great things that are going well, how are some ways that we can get them involved in some of the other things that are on their mind, and then how can they bring that to you to share with you so there can be interaction moving forward. So that's the plan on Tuesday, the 24th, to meet with them. They'll also elect a member from the District Advisory Council to sit as the student representative on the school committee, so that you'll basically have a double dose. When you don't meet with with the Student Advisory Council at the district level 5 times throughout the year, our representative at the school committee will be here each meeting so that they can then share and bring back when not the entire group is here. So that's the update. We're really looking forward to the first meeting on November 2nd and bringing the group of kids down here. I think it's going to be really exciting.
Thank you.
I have a question.
If Ms. Vice Chair Naylor is done?
So how is the student going to get elected, and when does that take place?
So the student advisory councils at the school level already identified and elected the member of that specific council to represent the district, okay? So Central has a team, a student advisory council of 7 or 8 individuals. They already elected their one representative to come and represent the district advisory council. The district advisory council will then identify and elect by consensus the one member of the one member who will represent the district advisory council as a student advisory council member that sits at the school committee table.
And when will...
We're going to do that on the 24th of October.
Okay, all right.
So that way it'll be a student-held election that everybody's coming together to make a decision on.
And in the future, will it happen in advance so that student is here for September?
Yes, so we weren't able to get it off the ground. The regulations say by June 1st of the prior year. So yes, that is absolutely the intention per the regulations. We got a little bit of a late start last year with the regulation, but that's the intention moving forward, yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Whip. Back to Vice Chair Naylor, please.
Thank you. And so as far as the parent council, we'll get that from Jose.
I'll have Jose report at the next meeting.
Wonderful. And then my last question is around, so we have the home visit project, and I know part of the reason why we really have strongly focused on it is because of attendance. And one of the things that I've observed is that our attendance policy has not been updated in some time. So I wanted to just bring it up as a notice that as we are focusing on the the home visit project, I'm getting so distracted by the noise that I can't think straight, so forgive me for that. But the attendance policy being updated is something that I would love for us to revisit as a body so that we can even talk more about what it looks like, kind of review what the home visit project is doing and if it's still relevant as far as the intentionality of why we implemented it, and then also looking at our attendance policy to see where we can improve upon it as far as equity is concerned.
Can you elaborate a little bit? What do you mean about the attendance policy?
So and Attorney Phelps can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't remember us updating it since I've been on the committee. And I've had a lot of inquiries from folks that work for the district as well as parents asking about the relevancy of it and the fact that it seems dated in some ways. And so although I think it's a great idea for us to have the home visit project, I think we still want to look at the relevancy of why we intended to have it, and can we expand upon how we take advantage of it for its purposes.
Okay, so the reason that I asked that question, Mr. Mayor, if I could, the reason I asked that question is because I had a conversation, and Patty was fantastic this week in helping me help this family resolve this issue. And we had several of these things come up in the beginning of the school year where Chief Zone Officer Kim Wells also helped me with. And I kept replaying in my mind how much we talk about attendance and how important attendance is, but how much some of our policies and/or practices fly in the face of some of that. So for example, the issue that came up this week was that a parent had moved out of their home. The address was updated. They got an email at 9:59 at night saying, your kid's last day at school is tomorrow, and they're to report the following day to the new school. And in the meantime, while they resolve all this, they can't go back to school at all. So now we're talking about 2, 3, 4 days until they resolve and get whatever form it is. And so it just made me start to think, like, some of what we're doing, and I know when I was talking to Chief Officer Wells, she had said, well, this is school committee policy. And I get it's a policy, and I get we put it into place, but some of it is antiquated and doesn't make sense for how we're trying to engage and be more family friendly. So I'm all with looking at that. I wasn't sure what lens you were coming at it with, but I do think we got to look at it and figure out what are some of the practices that we have or the policies that we have in place, and how do they conflict with our narrative of kids need to be in school because attendance matters, or attendance matters and kids need to be in school.
Is there any clarification on that?
Well, certainly we're glad to look at the attendance policy. I do think we have updated it a few times. We're constantly working on it. Actually, attendance went in a positive direction last year in a significant way, and chronic absences came way down. So it was a concerted effort. We actually added to the support from the Sheriff's Department also this year. So we're working harder than ever on attendance. It's critical, and the attendance is moving in the right direction. So we're moving in the right direction with that. Some of the policies, there's some intricate pieces, and I don't want to talk about a particular case on camera and go over that come into play with people changing addresses and those kind of things that we could discuss individually. But we could take a look at the attendance policy, but the attendance trend is going in a very, very positive direction right now. So, and we're making home visits, but they're not those are all home visits specifically on attendance. And the sheriff has increased his staff helping us with that effort. Everyone in the state is working hard right now, not only on the attendance, on the chronic absence piece, because you saw the trend for the whole state when we looked at our data. You know, that during the pandemic it went way up, but we've been going down, and our attendance policy is helping us do that. And there's a series of steps that are dictated to the schools to follow on that. So I do think we have a really strong policy on that, and the data reflects that we're moving in the right direction. We're always glad to look at it, though. Always glad to look at it.
Yeah, I think my overarching
Excuse me,
so,
sorry.
like, we don't want it to be so strong that it's inflexible and doesn't allow for there to be some fluidity, so that it doesn't allow for kids to be able to get to school because it's a policy. Like, I think that we do need to look at our policies and then think about, like, what are some of the, scenarios that we're seeing, and how do we update our policies to make sure that they're equitable and that they're more family friendly. That's all. I just think we got to look at them, and we got to take into consideration that there's all kinds of different things that can happen, and we don't want to sort of over policy everything. I get that they're strong and they're there for a reason, but more and more I just felt like I've heard that. And then folks' response are, well, you guys stress so much how it's important for kids to be in school, but yet there are practices in place that don't really allow for that to be the case.
Well, again, we're always open to looking at policies, but there's a little more to that story, but yeah.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Gonzalez, please.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to make a comment and then a couple of questions. My first comment, I just want to thank the superintendent on the strategic plan, Superintendent, you and your team, and just note that it's easy for folks to do strategic plans without the community involvement piece, because that piece is arduous. It has a lot of labor, and I was actually a part of some of those groups before even joining the school committee, and I appreciate it because it's the right way to do these type of plans for our city and community. So thank you, and thank you for all the progress that you and your team have made in regards to that. But I do have a couple of questions just pertaining to the student advisory committee, and then also pertaining to the policies separate from the strategic plan, but kind of in the same thread my colleagues were asking. Attorney Phelps, I know that you had mentioned that it was over the summer for several months that you had an intern for a law student that was updating some of the policies and helping to organize. Were those things covered? I know that there was some things that we needed to get some manpower on to help organize a lot of that stuff.
Personnel power.
Yeah. Thank you, Denise.
Thank you, Ms. Hurst. Yes, the project was almost completed over the summer. There are about 650 pages of policy that are ready to be reviewed by the school committee. In conversations with Vice Chair Naylor, she had suggested that there be a working session devoted just to the policies, with me providing the executive summary of the ones that have significant changes, but also to allow the full committee to take a look at all of the policies that have been rewritten for gender-neutral terms, as well as some other practices consistent with our policies. There are a few outliers, one of which is the attendance policy. And that's because over the summer, I needed to have input from various departments, special education, counseling, to weigh in on our attendance policy. The last attendance policy was revised with Ms. Martinez as part of the Attendance Matters project. That's only a few years ago. But we did want to take a deep look at the attendance policy with regards to all sorts of issues. So that is ongoing, and that is probably one of the few outlier policies that have yet to be completed.
Thank you, Attorney Phelps. And Mr. Mayor, I just have another question for Ms. Wells. The Student Advisory Council, I understand that folks are meeting October 24th on this. Are the advisors, the staff, are they capturing the minutes for these meetings?
So yes, one of the things that Jose and I are working on are norms for each of those meetings, which will include capturing minutes, creating agendas for those so that those can be shared and readily available. Yes.
Okay, will those be shared with this body?
I believe that that's something that we could do. Attorney Phelps, sharing the minutes of our meetings.
It's a good question. Clearly, notes of a public body are public documents. Whether or not a student advisory council is a public body, I'm going to have to look at that and report back. Because it is comments made by minors, so I think there's a confidentiality provision for minor students that we'd have to think through as well. So it's a good law school question, and I'm happy to take it on.
Regardless of the outcome, though, we have that planned as one of the norms, that we would be collecting notes on those meetings and creating agendas for those as well.
Yeah, very well. Thank you, Ms. Wells. Thank you, Attorney Phelps, and thank you, Mayor, for allowing me the time. And Superintendent, again, great job with the strategic plan.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we'll move to reports of standing committees. Student Relation Parent Concerns, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. Building and Maintenance Committee, Mr. Collins.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Collins. Legislative Contracts Committee, Mr. Gonzalez.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. D is Curriculum Programs Committee, Ms. Hurst.
No report at this time.
Thank you. E is Budget and Finance Committee, Mr. Collins.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. F is Vocational Education Committee. Again, Attorney Murphy sends his regrets. He has a family event this evening. G is Technology Committee. Vice Chair Monroe Naylor, please.
No report.
Thank you. H is School Safety Committee, Ms. Gresham.
No report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Ms. Gresham. I is Diversity, Equity, Inclusion. Ms. Hurst, please.
No report at this time, Mr. Mayor, but I will be scheduling a meeting.
Thank you. Report of the Superintendent. Superintendent Ward, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Included an editorial in your packet. We got a great editorial last week, so we put it in your packet about Springfield's progress relative to the MCAS testing, the graduation rates, and everything else that really are a testimony to the wonderful work of our staff. So I'd just like to put that forward. And then at the last meeting, we had a request for some information. So we broke down the out-of-school suspensions, the number of suspensions, number of students, and we included that chart. We also included on the arrests a breakout of SPS with ZEP and without ZEP. And we also included the information on the different types of surveys and the number of responses to those surveys for you to take a look at. And if you have any questions, you can bring them forward to me. But as you can see, there was a tremendous, tremendous decrease among all the different groups, African American group, the Hispanic group, all the different groups relative to suspension. So it's a very positive story. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Superintendent Ward. Any questions or comments, Superintendent?
Just a comment, Mr. Mayor. While the editorial was nice where it highlighted our progress, they went a step further and used our progress as a reason to keep MCAS in place, which I don't necessarily believe. I know I, as one member of this body, don't necessarily believe we should keep the requirement of passing the science test in place. The editorial used our data to say this is proof why MCAS should stay the way it is. They took a different spin on it than I would have taken.
You know what? Mr. Collins, I actually agree with you. I love the editorial. I didn't agree with the point they were trying to make, because they were trying to make the point we should keep the MCAS requirement for graduation. We talked about this. There's a requirement for testing in grades 3 to 8 and 10, federally required. So you have to have that as a requirement. There is no requirement for that a test to be used for graduation, and only 7 states have continued to test for graduation. So I don't agree with what the premise of the article was, but I do agree it was a nice compliment to our staff. But that was a good clarification. I should have mentioned that.
Well, it shows when you use it as you should, as a measurement of what you've gotten done and what you want to get done, it has value. When you use it as a punishment tool, it doesn't.
You know, I think there's a clear case for accountability, and the federal law requires that. But to have one test for graduation, I never agreed with, and I still don't agree with. And I think that's something MASS, MASC, the MTA, people are going to weigh in on, and that's really being debated in the state. And I think people are going to come together and make a decision around that. And I hope the decision is in the best interest of our kids and really takes a look at the kids front and center on that. So I do think that will play out, though. There's a strong case on that.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments pertaining to the superintendent's report?
I do, sir.
Vice Chair Naylor, please.
I definitely echo your sentiments, Mr. Collins, because I wrote that down on my little note here just to say that I know that there is a movement right now and there's collecting signatures to request that they remove that as a requirement. And as so many of us saw our students continue to excel when we didn't have it as a requirement, I just think it continues to allow us to elaborate and the richness of our curriculum and what our kids can learn if we're not requiring them to pass the MCAS to graduate. So that's my feeling on that. But as far as the report is concerned, Superintendent, I have a very general question. So oftentimes when you do your reports, you will bring to us like if there is a success of a student or if a team or sports team is doing well. And I wanted to find out what is the process for that information to be shared on this platform. And mainly the reason why I asked that question is that, and I have a personal interest in this one, but the girls volleyball team at Putnam is shy of a perfect season. They've only lost one game, and tomorrow their season ends, and they're probably going to win that game, and they'll be going to the playoffs, and they'll be going to the States. And there hasn't been media coverage on it, of course, because for some reason the media doesn't always like to focus on the good stuff that's happening in Springfield. But also, I think that, you know, they're not the only team and they're not the only group of students that are succeeding, and I would love for it to be a more streamlined process where we're able to highlight the accomplishments of our students, not just through the work that Azelle does, which is fantastic, through the POG podcast or through our social media platforms, and even through the magazine that she does, the newsletter. There's a lot there, but I think here it would be nice as well to be able to acknowledge things like the fact that we have a volleyball team that really is phenomenal, and one of the players, who happens to be my daughter, is the top 3 in the division, you know, and that's a big deal for us. And of the top 3, 2 of them are Springfield public school students. So that's something that we should be highlighting as well, and I would love for us to figure out how do we continue to do that and help folks continue to be proud of their family. And I say that also because I know that when people see their kids show up on the feed, they're going to tag and they're going to share, and that's going to be more people that are going to like what we post as well to continue to publicize the work that we're doing.
Well, we'll continue to work on that. I've asked Wayne to do a recap every season of all the teams, so we don't just talk about the high-profile teams that get most of the press. So we will continue to do that, and we'll continue to work with Azelle to get that information out to everyone. I do agree that certain sports seem to get a more high-profile treatment, but we'll do all the sports here, and I'll continue to work with Azelle to get the news out on those. That's a really good point. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. Any other questions or comments pertaining to the superintendent's report? Hearing none, we'll move to unfinished business. Hearing,
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Hurst?
I know you all really don't want to hear from me, but however, busing. So I know, Superintendent, you sent an email, or I think Pat sent one at the beginning of the week, or maybe the end of last week, when we got the email from the parent who was all upset and, yeah. So I guess I'm just wondering, like, what are we going to do? Because it's not getting better. And so let me tell you why. A group of parents who are a part of my youngest son's bus, we've like literally developed a phone tree to let people know when they can come out, because the bus just is 20 minutes late, 30 minutes late, and instead of us standing out there, we each call each other and say, the bus is on the way, the bus is on the way. This morning, I got a call from my oldest son, and I track his phone, because then when he gets to school, his phone shuts down. And so I feel like this is important for the public to know, because they call us thinking that we're exempt from these problems, that we don't experience them. And I track little Justin's phone, and he's at Pope Francis this morning. His bus never came. They picked up the kids. They told them, just get on this bus, brought them to Pope Francis, and then said, and then we'll take you to school. I had no idea. And they're like, well, the buses are short, there's not enough. And so when I then get another call from another parent, I have to say to them, I am going through it. I am going through it too. Like, you are not the only one. But that is crazy.
No, I agree. It's completely unacceptable. We're scheduling another subcommittee meeting, and we're going to begin to implement the fines that are in the contract, because it is unacceptable. The problem is that they have a preponderance of drivers calling out, and they're, on any given day, they told us going into the year they had enough drivers. They had enough drivers to cover the basic routes. We asked, do you have enough drivers? You have to have sub-drivers in order to make this work. They weren't able to get enough drivers, and it's not acceptable. And there are clawback provisions in the contract. So we're going to schedule a subcommittee to go over those, and we're going to start to fine the bus company so that they'll know we're serious about this. We've also had hard discussions that this is their contract year. You know, it's a 5-year contract, and the contract is up this year, and they're not stating a good case for keeping the contract. So they're under the gun. We've let them know they're under the gun, and we're going to start the fines. So we've scheduled a subcommittee, and we want to report back at school committee so the parents will know that we're really putting some provisions in place to really hold them accountable, because they haven't delivered on the contract. I agree.
And then the other thing is that nobody called to tell us, right? So, and I get it, that's not the school's issue, because the school had no idea.
Well, the school probably didn't know.
No,
So
they didn't.
We've hit them on two things, performance and communication. The performance hasn't been great, nor has the communication been great. At the last subcommittee meeting, we actually had a long talk with them about both of those things. And we were going to continue to talk to them about that. I think the software program that they're going to put in is going to help, because you'll be able to track the buses. So I do think that's going to help. But we don't want folks to be tracking buses that are running late because they're doubled up because they still don't have enough drivers.
Or
There's
you're
a
tracking a
critical
bus that
shortage
doesn't show.
relative to drivers in the fields. This is a national issue. It's not just us. So I don't want to convey something here that First Student is the only one having trouble. Every superintendent I talk to, every one of their different bus companies are having similar problems because there's a workforce shortage. But it's not acceptable. They have a contract. We have to hold them to the contract. And there are provisions, and we're going to start to exercise those provisions. And we're scheduling a subcommittee to work at that, because I agree with you. It's not acceptable.
It's not.
And I've had some really frank discussions with them about it. Besides the fact that I had read a lot about coming shortages, talked to them this summer, and they assured me that they had enough drivers going and we weren't going to have a problem. So I feel the communication has been as bad as the service, and it's not acceptable, and I think we have to take them to task for it.
Thank you, Denise, for bringing that
Yeah.
up. I've spoken
The
to
complaints are everywhere.
a few
So,
parents
yeah.
personally on that.
Not acceptable.
And it was Superintendent Work, we've spoken on it, and Pat Roach to start implementing the fines and the penalties. It was Superintendent put across to them, knowing that there's, again, been shortages and challenges across the nation. Do you have sufficient drivers to make sure that our students and families are served properly? Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Yes, we do. And as far as I'm concerned, this is lip service now. And the bell is tolling right now.
Yes, it
because their contract is up this year.
Yeah.
And if they think, unless there's a marked improvement, that they're going to have a shot to retain this contract, the bell is tolling right now. So we understand circumstances, extenuating circumstances occur, but the communication, forget about being laxed, has been absolutely terrible.
Terrible.
I know there's a lot of dedicated bus drivers out there, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, I will say
But you have parents, rightfully so, concerned about their children. Where are their children on it? And we always prided ourselves having a very good transportation system, not facing the problems such as Boston and other areas faced. But now it's becoming a little too commonplace. And so I know the superintendent has sent a strong message, I have too, and they're going to start paying penalties. And you know how you get people's attention? God forbid something happens. You hit them in the pocketbook, hit them in the wallet, hit them in their pocket. That starts to get their attention, that there's got to be better communication. It was asked specifically from the superintendent over the summer, can you handle, this is a massive contract, $36 million, which I pay out of the city side. We want accountability, and if you're not going to present us that accountability, you're not going to be around anymore. So I would suggest the first student to get on the stick, because if you don't get the stick, we're not going to use the carrot and the stick. It'll be the stick that'll be used in respect, make sure that our students are safe and sound. Now it's gotten to the point that the penalties are going to be invoked. And again, this is your contract year that is coming up. You're not setting a good table right now. I'm going to be blunt, as I stated to them and the superintendent before. So let's get some marked improvements, as school committee woman Hurst, Denise mentioned too. There's some great bus drivers, great bus drivers, and we're not putting the onus or blame on them. Corporate needs to have a better communication plan, better strategic plan. Don't say you can cover these things no problem without any, we won't have any issues at all. It's just becoming too commonplace. And, when you have to speak with those parents, and we all have children, and you don't want something to happen. Ms. Gresham?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Have they started finding them? Because
We're going
we
to
had
start to put the fines in place. Pat and his team are working on them now.
All right, because we had that subcommittee meeting.
We're documenting all of them after that meeting, Barb.
Yeah.
It's a great question. And Pat and his team are documenting from every school, every time they're late, and we're putting the whole fine package together based on all that documentation. Just takes a little work because there's a lot of instances with them being late. We want to get them all and fine them accordingly.
And when is the contract up exactly?
The contract's up at the end of the year, Barb.
End of the year. So.
And then we will have, there'll be a proper bidding process, RFP out there on it. And I'm sure that there's going to be competition, and that could spur people.
Well, one of the MASC proposals, I believe, in the package was how to get more bids on the bus contracts, because it seems like most times in most communities there's a terrible preponderance to there'll be more than one firm taking a look at it, but at the final version only one bids on each one. So there's been some allegations of perhaps collusion going on, and we need to take a look at that across the state, and that's being looked at across the state, so that we'll get more than one bid on these different contracts, because there's been too many instances of everybody else backing out and only one bid. So that's being looked at across the state.
So can we be involved in looking at that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
School committee and be involved in the whole piece with the contract.
All right,
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, just 2 points on it. When it is ready to go out to bid, I think it is incumbent upon the department and us to notify the Inspector General to watch the bidding process, because it certainly appears that there is collusion, that the big companies get together and go, okay, you bid on that one, I'll bid on this one, and that does not help the public, that does not help any system.
No, competition helps the system, and there hasn't been enough of it, and it is being looked at. I agree.
And I can tell you, Denise, that the subcommittee delivered the message loud and clear on behalf of the parents, the dissatisfaction. And that meeting ended on a sour note. I have to laugh now that I listened to your story about little Justin. They're only guiding light was, we got this program, you're going to be able to track the buses. I can just imagine you sitting there going, what the heck is he doing at Pope Francis if you had the track on his bus?
Well, you know, the shuffling of upper management, which has changed, because we didn't have these issues, even during when we started to come back in COVID, the communication is lacking. And I mean, the door is open. The door is open right now for other reputable transportation entities to take a look at this. That could change if first student gets back to the way they used to be. But if not, I think the school committee is in unison right now that we're not happy. I'm not happy from the city side because money comes out of my general budget, and I want to make sure that our students and families are receiving first-class transportation, timely transportation, so parents do not have to worry. Mr. Gonzalez, please.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have a question as it relates to the bidding process. Who sets up the size of the bid, the format of the bid? Who does that? Is that the city side? Because the city's paying for it, the RFP?
The city team and our team has worked
They work
together in the past.
collaboratively.
Yeah, because you're
We
right.
have to get
We
info
end
from
out getting the
school.
service, but they end up paying the bill, so it's a collaborative effort on both teams.
And the reason why I'm asking that is because, you know, I think there's several folks in the city and in the region, you know, that perhaps can't bid on such a large contract. So, I mean, if they don't have the capacity for the entire city, then is there consideration to break up this RFP, even though that a same vendor could potentially bid on 3 RFPs?
Well, we can certainly take a look at how that contract is going out and take a look at it as a team and get feedback from the school committee on it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Because I'm looking for a solution, and I don't know because I have not read the contract in its entirety, the current contract. But are they allowed to subcontract, like to help fill this gap or void? Can they subcontract right now?
I don't think that bid is
They
designed.
cannot subcontract.
So, thank you, Patrick. Patrick, go ahead. He can give a better answer than I am.
They cannot subcontract out the contract. They can't do anything like that without our permission.
That doesn't fall, again, in the
So the
contractual agreement.
only way that we can help supplement their gap is to pay additional? Like if they can't fulfill their contract, right? We don't have any way to say, okay, you can't do this, so perhaps we look to, I don't know, a private company to help subcontract or supplement what they can't fill?
No,
We actually do have the ability ourselves. If they can't meet the service, we could do it ourselves.
But we have to pay for it.
However, there's 145 big bus routes, and some of those bus routes do a high school tier, and then they do a completely separate elementary school tier, maybe even a middle school tier in the middle. So it's the way we do our routing. It would be impossible to know what bus you would do on a certain day. We would need to completely redo routing for the whole entire bus system to break up the contract in order to be able to consider something like that. So we wouldn't be able to do it until at least next school year.
Yeah, you have to have proper planning time. The other thing here is I'm not paying anybody more of a damn dime on this. We're going to start fining them, penalizing them, and getting their attention. I'm not going to reward them, by, okay, you didn't do a good job, now I'm going to have to subcontract out and pay even more money. They're going to get fined. They're going to get penalized. We have clawback aspects in the contract. And then, again, their bid is up. And there's got to be a comprehensive type look at the situation so you have a company that can come in and handle this type of transportation system. But I'm not looking to supplement.
Yeah, I wasn't looking for us to supplement the cost. I was thinking, well, if you can't fulfill the duties or the obligations of your contract, will you then pay, not us, them, to help deliver the service that you've been contracted to do. I think that the other thing, I'll be honest, I mean, Superintendent Warwick said it himself, this is a national problem. So even if we go out to bid and we get another company, are we going to see the same concerns and issues, right? Like, unless, you know, how will that next company help to, or how will that next company have any more bus drivers than we currently have?
Yeah, there's a workforce issue, and
Yeah, that's what I'm
issue
wondering.
is out there right now. So in talking to a lot of my colleagues, we're not the only one experiencing this, but I'm not excusing first students.
No.
Either the service or the communication.
I agree with that.
I am not excusing it in any way. It's just that this is a massive contract. This is the second biggest contract in New England. It's a very complicated construct. For years, First Student actually did a good job for us.
Yes, they did.
You
Yes,
know,
they did.
really good. You'd hear Boston every year, Worcester every year. Worcester ended up taking it over and running it themselves at one point because they had so many problems. So all the large districts with the most complex routing, where you're doing triple tier services like Pat was talking. You're not just routing a bus that's going to run one. Ours run a high school run, then they run an elementary run. It's a very complex system. So certain entities would be able to deliver this, but they're all experiencing workforce issues. What are they going to do about those workforce issues? Are they going to offer more bonuses to staff and things like that? They're going to need to do more creative things because it is a problem everywhere right now. But right now, we have to hold First Students' feet to the fire. And what I really resent is when I talked to them this summer about this, they let me know that there wasn't going to be any issue at all. And then we've been hit with this, and it's been nonstop. And the communication also, if you're running bad, but your child shows up at Pope Francis and you have a call to make, someone's got to get on that phone. Someone's got to be answering that phone, and the communication piece. And Pat has talked to them very, very clearly about this too. That's one thing. Without the workforce piece, you can do something about getting more office staff, getting them in on the live phones. So you're hearing people and you're following through, figuring out where the kids are. That software piece that we had at the subcommittee could help so parents can track it. But right now, I think we have to hold them. They have a deliverable, and they haven't delivered. And but I'm not going to tell you that there's an easy way out of this, Denise, because you're right. The other companies, other large companies, we've talked to same issues, and we talked. Pat went on with the folks from the Lower Pioneer Valley Collaborative. They run their own bus system. See if they could help us. They're short of drivers, and they're tied into the state system. So this permeates the whole industry right now, and that industry needs to look at things. But this whole bidding process too is a concern. When you only have one company submitting bids, this is something that needs to be looked at statewide, because competition could help.
You know, we also, before I go to Mr. Gonzalez, with my Chief Development Officer, Tim Sheen, and Dave Cruz at Mass Hire, we also funded training, CDL training, not too long ago, because we knew a shortage was coming on it, and we paid for training on CDL trainings on it. But communication, you know, if you're up front saying we're having some issues here, you communicate that, this is what we're going to do about it moving forward, that can give you some type of confidence. We are not getting that. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just hear a couple of things that I just want to uplift in our conversation here this evening. And one of them is that obviously we want to hold the bus company First Student accountable and penalize them to improve and to get creative as we move forward. But the other piece that I have concern with is going back out based on what our CFO has informed us, back out to bid in hopes of what we haven't seen historically for multiple bidders to come to the table and not form internally a strategy and get creative. So I think this is a multi-pronged approach. I think the superintendent's well aware of this, and so are you, Mr. Mayor, but I just don't want to put all of our eggs in one basket and say we're going to hold them accountable, we're going to penalize them, hopefully they're going to improve, and then come back and in June award them a contract. I think we have to look at all of these things collectively, simultaneously, so that way we're not screwed next school year. Excuse the expression.
No, We so agree with you. And we're going to have several more meetings on this and strategizing around the contract, because we all feel like that.
Yeah.
You know, we've all been on the other end of it with parents that have very, very legitimate complaints and very often couldn't get through to somebody. At least if someone would answer their complaint and get back to them and inform them. But by the time they get to us, they're absolutely furious because that piece hasn't happened, and it's been unacceptable. I agree, and we'll have to strategize on how we look at that contract. And that's been a problem across the state. This idea that you don't have the proper competition on the bidding process is not acceptable, and that is being looked at statewide, and we'll look at it here too. But they're legitimate concerns, and we'll have to work as a team, and we'll get the school committee involved in that as a team, because we've all collectively felt the brunt of it, and I know I, for one, am fed up with it, and I can tell you all are too, and I don't blame you.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, Vice Chair Naylor.
One point of, a thought that just came to mind as far as creativity is that similar to how we prepared folks for the ARPA process and we had like technical assistance sessions, it would be really, I think, helpful if we thought of having something, not thought about, but actually put in place something on that order where we provided folks who might be interested instructions on how they would go about the bidding process, what are the requirements, what kind of certifications are required, things of that nature. A lot of people don't know that they have to be in combis or certain systems in order to even be eligible to apply. So I think that before, rather than waiting until the time comes for us to have the proposal ready, it would be nice for us to have that information going out sooner than later. And I think that we could be surprised at some of the players that might come up saying that they're interested in working with us, and thereby helping with the strategy that Mr. Gonzalez is talking about of restructuring what that looks like for next year. Because to me, it looks like with the state of the economy and the situation with the workforce that this is a mammoth of a task, and not excusing what they're not doing, but I think that reality is that if we don't do things differently, then we're insane, right? Because we're doing the same thing expecting a different result, so we need to do something a little different. But I also feel like, going back to the communication piece, that not only am I disturbed by the lack of communication, I'm also disturbed by the rudeness and the lack of concern that many parents are experiencing when they do finally get somebody on the phone. And so I know that, especially with that one that we received a week or so ago, the things that parent was talking about, these are things that we have to make sure that we're holding, whether it's for a student or whether it's our own transportation department, we have to hold people accountable. And I know these are personnel matters, so we're not going to discuss those things publicly, but I do want to make sure that folks know that we take those things very serious, that if somebody is experiencing that level of disrespect, that we don't just brush it off and say, oh, well, they're having a bad day. That we do need to make sure that customer service is very present, and that even though you may or may not be able to do anything about it, people still need to know that you care and you're concerned. And so that is equally concerning to me, that even when they do get somebody on the phone, that's been the experience. And that parent was not the only parent that has experienced that kind of situation or reaction from staff. So I just wanted to clarify that as well. In those conversations, that we need to be mindful. Yeah, we're finding you for being late and we're finding you for that, but here are some expectations too as to how that service needs to look when you're encountering families, even though you may be frustrated because things are not working out the way you want it to.
Thank you, Vice Chair Naylor. Any other questions or comments? If not, we'll move to new business. Hearing none, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Naylor. Roll call vote is required. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Ms. Hurst?
Yes.
Attorney Murphy, absent. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Collins?
Yes.
Ms. Gresham?
Yes.
Ms. Monroe Naylor?
Yes.
Mayor Sarno?
Yes. Vote is sufficient. This matter passes. Good evening, good health, and thank you for watching.
See you. How's everything?